So we have marked 60 years of independence. You know, we're asking ourselves this question, and actually Andrew Franklin sent me some good info. So, June 1st, 1963, internal self-rule. That year, 12th of December, 1963, we got a president, a prime minister, but the Queen still remained as the boss. The following year, 1963 December, 1964 December, we became a republic. Queen gone. Jomo becomes now president. Get it?
And as we realize, Queen didn't really go anywhere, but nonetheless, we're given the impression Queen is gone. Okay.
Yeah. So 60 years later, as we commemorate Kenya's independence, 60 years later, just also building up on what we were discussing the previous hours, you know, looking at the leadership in the various administrations from Kenyatta 1 to Moi, to Moi, to Moi, to Moi, to Kibaki 1, to a Grand Coalition government, to Uhuru 1, to Uhuru handshake, to Ruto. Have we made progress as a country? And what kind of progress is it? Is Kenya standing on its own 2 feet yet? Or is it still crawling? Is it about time we actually took this kid to the doctor and said, this child...
stunted growth.
Yeah, there's some developmental issues.
Look, I think that even with the stunted growth, that you still have a child who's standing upright, isn't it? Even with stunted growth, there are very many things that this child is able to do. They're able to feed. There's cognitive ability. They're able to do certain things. They can be in school. Maybe they've not reached all the milestones that they have to. Maybe they've not crossed them properly. But there's some kind of movement. There's progress, which ought to be celebrated. However, the reason why you take them into the specialist is because you've noted that something is wrong. And you've noted that at the pace that, because that's just it, that whomever decided that by the time a child has reached this age, certain things should have been done. Certain milestones should have been crossed. That if you see a child at 1.5 years old and this child is not walking, something is wrong here. If this child is not eating solid food, there's a problem. If by the time they get to that 1.5, they're not babbling, they're not saying something, they've not said mama, dada, there's something wrong. If they get again to age 3 and 4, they're not starting to put together more complex words and speak them out. You know that there's something wrong. If they cannot pick up a spoon and feed themselves at that age, also you know there's something wrong. That does not mean that there are certain things along the way that this child has not achieved. That doesn't mean that. But again, the reason why you go to a specialist is because there is something wrong.
And you know there's something wrong because you're comparing the child with other children.
Who at that, and that's where this whole thing came from in the first place. Because you've seen a child who quote unquote is normal, and you've said, they've been able to achieve this and this and this. And over time, the collection of this knowledge then allows you to make those comparisons, because you say, okay, in the majority of these children at this age, this and this and this has been achieved. And that is what you use now for your comparison. Now, when you see something standing out, that's when you say, then here, there's a problem. Let's go see the doctor. The hope is that when you go to see the doctor, the things that the doctor tells you to do, or the doctor says, no, this one, we are tanking it. It's over. It's finished. We cannot do anything about it. Let's just live with the situation. Or they say, there's something we can do along the way to change this thing. The hope is that the advice that the doctor has given to you, you will now take it. Why? Because the doctor is one of the practitioners in this pool of people whereby they have been able to do the analysis and have said, this is normal behavior. And in order to achieve this normal behavior, you must then do 1, 2, 3. Now, unfortunately, what I see when we look at nations, and now again, in comparison to other nations, for systematic operations, certain things have come about. Good governance we call about all the time. We talk about a thriving people and 1, 2, 3 that must be done at the very barest minimum. When we talk about those things, has there been fluidity? Has there been consistency amongst those in those areas? And if those things, is there a way in which you can manage your debt? Is there a way in which there's fiscal responsibility with nations? Those are the things that you go to the doctor and you say, hold up, there's a problem. Now, when they say prescribe, now, whomever the doctor is, I don't know that we should say it's the financial institutions from the West should be the doctor. or when you see that a nation is crying constantly, when you see that the people continuously are frustrated, when you see that you cannot provide what is needed in sectors, health, education, etc., infrastructure is not up to scratch, that's now when you say, okay, doctor, please help. Now, if you're not doing what the doctor has ordered, that's when you say, okay, Kenya has done well. It has progressed along 1, 2, 3, but we're still dealing with some fundamentals that have not been sorted out, and they must be sorted out for you to say, actually, yes, well done. Look at the last 20 years, for example. Look at what devolution has done. I spoke with somebody from one area who said, without devolution, before devolution, we did not see a building more than 2 stories. We don't know what that looks like. Our area did not have an ECD. Children had to go whatever to look. We did not even have community water. So can we then say that Kenya has not progressed? No, we cannot. There are very many things that have been done. We see infrastructure incomparable to what is happening in other African nations. That's the truth.
So then, if we are comparing with our peers who are the same age as us,
yes, Kenya has done better.
Then we are above average.
Yes, has
in
done
fact,
very
we
well.
need to skip the next class.
Has done very well.
We need to go to start 5.
Perhaps. But then you say, in that space where now you have been placed, remember, at the stages. At the stages, again, there are certain things that are going to be asked of you to do. A child, if you go back to the analogy of children, a child who is in class 1, or what is called grade 1 now, if you cannot read with your hard consonants, ka, b, g, t, if you cannot read, there's a problem. If you cannot do rote counting, there's a problem. You should have been able to achieve that with the correct elements having been put in place. If you go to the next stage, amongst the people who are in that class, Kenya, having done 1, 2, 3, and is at this stage, there are certain things that we should expect from you by now. Whether other people are lagging behind, you're still in the same class or in the same age group, but we expect this of you at this time. Again, from that pool of comparison that has been created, if there are certain things that you're not doing, remember, you have a different stage. But again, there's still demands that are being required of you.
Yeah.
If you've not reached them, there's a problem.
So how do we know who to compare with? Because if the basic is, let's compare ourselves. We are saying we are 60. Let's compare ourselves with those who are in their 60th year or in the 6th decade of their independence. All right? So we look at Uganda, Tanzania, Ghana, all these are countries. How do we rate ourselves?
You know, I think the yardstick...
Are they behind us or are they ahead of us?
Actually, the yardstick...
In all those things, in terms of development, in terms of per capita income, in terms of human rights, in terms of exposure, in terms of community awareness, in terms of all those things...
I would use the standard of measure as our aspirations. Because what do we see for ourselves? What would you like to see for ourselves as a nation? Because the dreams that people have for nationhood are born out of an idea of what it is you'd like to actually see that nation becoming, or the people who are in that nation becoming.
Yes.
Children are taken to school because parents have a vision of what it is that they'd like to see their children become. Now, in the previous hour, we're talking about the current government and the vision they presented of a nation where the downtrodden would be uplifted and the downtrodden would be given priority. And it was a good narrative. It was a narrative people wanted to hear. It was a narrative people needed to hear. The question I keep asking is, why did people need to hear that narrative? Why was it so important? It was important because people clearly did not feel that they were part and parcel of this country, that this country seemed to belong to other people in the same country as them, and they had no say in it. Or if the say they had was minimum. The one thing we haven't done well is to hold our leaders to account. And that will be our damnation. We will murmur and complain among ourselves, but if we do not hold our leaders to account, they're just simple Africans who are leading us. They're not complicated people. They're just like the rest of us, simple Africans. They will run amok, they'll do crazy things. When they're held to account, then the dreams and the aspirations that we have will be realized. Because if I look at the theft that has taken place in this country should have collapsed a long time ago.
Or if the theft did not happen, this country would have progressed a long time.
You've said it very well, my sister. That's precisely the point. You see? So now, but so long as we have all these dreams and we talk about our infrastructure, but the personal development where we are able to do this one thing, look at the truth in the eye and ensure that those we elect into places of leadership are forced to look at this truth in the eye as well, because we make them look at it. Then everything that we keep talking about and doing will come to naught. And we'll keep complaining and we'll keep talking about the thing that we actually should have stopped talking about a long time ago. Because the problem exists, we know it, we see it, and the solution is in our hands, and yet we do nothing about it.
I'm taking the half-full approach or view to this.
Yes.
What you have said actually indicates to me that we are holding our leaders to account.
Please explain.
The fact that, first of all, we are conscious of what we'd like to see, and we are also conscious that we are not seeing it, and we are able to directly link that to leadership, is already a level of accountability. That we're already saying, no, these guys, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Okay? Talking about it is one step towards that accountability. The next step is taking the decisive action, and even taking the decisive action of what to do at an election, proactively, not reactively.
Not or retroactively.
Or retroactively.
Yes.
But proactively. That is something. And I'd compare that to, if we look at the first administration, where it was the leaders were the revered people, nobody could talk back to the leader, yes, they had this consciousness of wanting to serve, but they were not getting pushback from the public as much as they receive now. The fact that we've gotten to a level where we've just had a clip here, somebody saying iko madawa kwa hospitali, and people saying hakuna, and then muone hakuna, you go and say hakuna, and it was in the news just now. People are saying no, hakuna madawa, iko madawa, hakuna. We had the other one, the Minister Malonza, the clip was all over. She's saying kazi inafanywa, they were like, acha wewe. That is the citizens actually starting to hold their leaders to account and saying, story kama hiyo hapana, hatutaki. That is progress. That shows us that we are, we're in the same grade 6, all of us, with Tanzania, with Uganda, with whoever else, but we are above the level of we are index 1. We are index 1 in terms, we can already see grade 7. We know what we want to do when we get to grade 7. We're already actually seeing even beyond grade 7, 8, 9. We are seeing grade 10, I want to move into sciences, or I want to move into arts. At grade 6, we already have identified, we have a dream of what we'd like to do. Right? And then, in my mind, that tells me that Kenya is actually at that level where, and that's why we have all this impatience. Because I want to do sciences. I'm wondering, why you're wasting time telling me to go and play football? Is football is linked to my sciences? Because I get to grade 10, I'll be doing sciences. And I want you as a teacher to explain to me this football and how that's why we're impatient.
Remember, one of the things that was wonderful about our 2010 constitution was what we call chapter 6, before the watering down. When we murmur, and the elected leaders knows that after the murmur nothing will happen, yes, they know we are unhappy, but they also know there's nothing else we're going to do beyond being unhappy. We may have to wait 5 years before we can do something else. We had an opportunity where, difficult as it may have been, we were able to tell you, okay, we've got you. See what's happening to the governor, it could happen to the MP, MCA, it could happen. I'm simply saying that Beyond even taking those measures, these leaders are elected from our community. They're people we know. They're not strangers. They are so-and-so's brother, so-and-so's cousin, so-and-so's uncle. They're people we know. If somebody aspires to be a leader and they themselves seem to think that they are beyond being held accountable, because that's what seems to be the case, or they are held accountable until they get to that position, then at that point they then feel that they are not in a position to be held accountable. Then again, I'm back to factory settings. The progress that we are supposed to make with regards to moving forward, because these are the people who are supposed to help us move forward, we will not be moving forward. The consciousness you speak of is key, meaning you think and you realize, when people benefit, so do I. But we have a case where I benefit. If the people benefit, well,
doesn't matter. If they benefit,
it's a
fine.
bonus.
If they don't, great. We move because I have been sorted out.
Yes.
And that's the bane of this situation in which we continually are in.
In fact, what you mentioned, the example you've given, which was in the news just a few minutes ago, was here is the leader doing what they do. Coming to lie outrightly, and you're being told, Chief, it is not true.
Yeah.
Next thing is go away.
Get out of here.
Yes. Now, yes, we're making progress. But the progress that I would have liked to see after 60 years is one where our discussions around education and health and leadership are one where what we're doing is good, how do we improve? We're not there. We seem to be that hamster. Okay? The issues of health that we're discussing 10 years ago, the same issues we're discussing now. People think they're different. They're not really different. The issues of health that we're discussing 20 years ago are the same issues we're discussing now. In fact, I could argue that 30 years ago, you would actually find drugs in hospitals.
And I think that's what makes it a little bit more sticky.
Yes.
Because it doesn't matter where you go on this continent, here in Kenya, go to Nigeria, go to Ghana, go to South Africa, go around the world, and people will tell you of a time gone by when things worked properly.
Yes.
In the era of independence, not in the colonial era. In the era of independence, where we had our own leaders doing things the proper way, and people would fall in line. So that's what makes it a little bit more painful, that we seem to have gone from a point whereby we knew and we operated in a way in which we knew was the correct way. But then we've gone away from the axis. And it seems so much more difficult to be able to come back with the development that we have achieved. We've not been able to apply the operations of proper behavior behind it. And that's what makes it a little bit more painful, that we know what to do, we know how to do it, and we know who should do it, but we just do not.
0719-012-600 or YouTube, our Facebook. Just post your comments. The people who are on live stream, read some of those comments on live stream.
Quite some. The elected people can gang together to voice for remuneration or funding, like we saw of the CDF. But legislative matters, that's for the interest of the people, matters before an oppressive one, right? Pan-African Nation says, my opinion is that we really need to nail how we elect representatives at the lower levels, MCAs, MPs. Then the presidential stuff will eventually follow. The presidential election is too emotive for reason. We need to be more proactive when championing political change in this country. We keep electing thieves, okay? We need to remove the presidential system because it's hard to put a president into account. We have got we should even boycott elections when the contestants are implicated on integrity issues. A powerful people on paper, but powerless on taking control of their own destiny. Fear of saying no is our weakness.
Many comments coming in, and basically I hear none saying we're at a good place.
It's true. Chumsi says, look, they made sure the puppet took... who's that? They made sure the puppet took up the presidency. Just look what is happening. Very soon he'll announce himself as president of Africa. Wow, okay. Those that have been bestowed the responsibility to lead our great nation are in denial. about their shortcomings.
You know, when someone takes the effort to continuously tell you something, there's a reason why they're telling you something. Beyond just wanting you to hear what is being said. You know, when you speak to others, you're also speaking to yourself. Because you can actually hear what you're saying. Okay? Now remember, getting elected is just one thing. In this country, it's taken for granted that once you're elected, you've got 5 years. The only people who don't have that luxury are governors. Because their threats are real.
Yeah. It's a daily thing.
They know it's real. It's not something to joke about.
If you go home that day and you're still in office, shukuru Mungu. Everybody else, it's assumed. Let's hear from Lawrence, and then we continue from your line of thought. Lawrence in Nairobi, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Lati, Ndu, and City.
Good
morning, sir.
FYI, I'm called Lawrence Biwot. So I think what we are suffering as a country is examples. Because as children, we learn from our fathers. As leaders, we learn from those who have gone before us. I have the Kalenjin nation learned that for you to become rich, you must get into power, take government resources. Then from there, you become a powerful person.
Who taught you that?
It is an example that is there. The Moi did it. So for the 24 years, the entire Kalenjin nation was learning that for you to become rich, you must just make sure you get into power. There you'll get resources, you'll get access to government resources especially, and you become rich, you acquire land, and our value system is basically land. I'm sure you'll agree that all Nilots like to have big chunks of land. So the city is laughing because it's one of them.
I am most definitely a Nilot, yes.
yes. So the best thing they do in government is come up with schemes of getting rich, basically. That's why you'd see when people make noise to the CSA, like more comment and tell him, oh, you took bribes. Not because they're just shouting from trees. It's because maybe the bribe that was given, the guy did not get a cut. So he's just shouting that, where is my cut? So it is really disheartening that we had 60, but we are struggling with teething problems. Not because we have lost our teeth, but because it never grew. Yes.
Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you very much. 0719-012-600. Where are you calling from? Let's hear from you. 60 years after independence, where are we as a country? Are we making progress? Are we not making progress? City, I'm not sure you remember your train of thought where you were earlier, but let's just hear from Langat. Langat in Kericho. Good morning.
Good morning, Latif, Du, and the other gentleman from the lake.
Gentleman from the lake.
Mine, I would think I want to disagree with what we just spoke. One with disregard to the Kalenjin nation having learned the art of grabbing or whatever he implied from the past. I think ours is essentially a tribal kind of structure where we whip emotions. And anyone from a community would obviously, if there is a man on the top who is from a community, would obviously elect them in a contest that is there. And it's because we have made this contest about tribes. And we would not be in this position if we started well from independence. So from the word go, it went wrong. So what we need is probably a revolution that our generation will not be able to afford. We are too scared of a revolution now.
What do you mean by revolution?
We have a revolution of the mind, so that we start looking at people from what they are capable of doing, not from where they come from.
How would we know?
I would give you. Sorry.
How would we know we're in a revolution?
Well, look at the situation in the country now. We are going downhill. Only when we hit the bottom is people will realize that the choices we make have consequences. It doesn't matter who is in power. If they make the wrong decisions, we all go down. So I think we just need to go further down so that we all realize that we are responsible for our own decisions. But I would think if you look at the county government, the problem we have also is the issue of short-term goals. Growing up, we used to think that, you know, when you clear college, you go to get a job, you have like a 30-year plan, 40 years. When you're 40, you're married, you get you buy a house, you buy a car and everything. But now with the county government, people have like a 5-year plan. You're elected or you're appointed to position and you want to achieve everything in 4 years. So we have people in government who have very short-term plans. They have converted long-term plans to be achieved in a very short time. So we, as a country, we definitely have a problem.
Thank you, Langat. Thank you very much. From Kericho, let's go to Madeira. Sami.
Yes, Eric.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sive. Good to hear from you guys.
Sante Sana, good to hear you as well.
One thing that I've learned with this government, you know, before we used to say we should elect very educated people to parliament. Now you have a very educated team in parliament and we are still having very simple problems. The country that we have is a country of learned people. And we are struggling with basics. Things like hospitals, there are no drugs, just simple roads back in our villages. Putting maram, not even tobacco. We are just struggling with basics.
Switching on a generator.
So just imagine a generator. A generator in my church works. I don't understand how a generator doesn't work in the airport. Here in Madeira, people have generators and they work. The barber shop. You go to the barber and your hair is being cut and something happens and there's no power. The guy just puts on the generator. So you can imagine the kind of things that we are being told at the international airport.
Yeah.
So it's just a question of refusing to do the right things, the basic right things. You know, we are struggling with just the basics. If the president and his cabinet could just do the basics, the rest of the country will grow.
Thank you, Sami.
We are not asking for so complicated things. Thank you very much, Eric.
Are you in Madeira or in Mazeras? Just to confirm.
Mazeras. On your way to Mombasa.
So,
yes.
Forgive Edna. Alisikia Madeira. Solomon in Australia.
Yep.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
It's good afternoon over here. So I've been hearing your conversation the whole day, and I think the thing that we as Kenya have is a problem of civic education. It's a sovereign thing that we have to understand what's going on, because I think the politics that is being played on the people, it's not a thing which we see as it's serious, because, you know, the government doesn't have any money which they earn from the people. So I think civic education should be something which should be taken very seriously among the people. And it's going to make us move as a unit instead of looking at tribal lines or money and power.
Whose responsibility is it to ensure there is civic education?
I think the civil servants and, you know, like the people in power should just come clean, and they have to know that if the person they are talking to really understands what's happening, they're not going to just come and talk all the lies and shenanigans that they bring to us.
Thank you very much, Solomon. Asante sana. Have a good one.
All right. Thank you very much.
And thank you for calling in. Daniel in Kajiado.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Eric Latif.
Good morning.
Muga and Ndu.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I am well. Now, I know I've been listening to you guys, and I thank God that we still have intellectuals who still use their brains along the bipartisan lines. What we are lacking in Kenya is not lack of leadership, not lack of human resource. We have all this. What we forget about our leaders, or let me not even call them leaders, let me call them politicians, because not all politicians are leaders, and not all leaders are politicians. These people are our servants. They are not to be worshipped. There is no day you tell your house girl, take these 100 shillings, go buy milk and bread. In turn, they go buy a kilo of nails, and when they come back to your house, instead of giving an explanation why they did that, you turn your head on the other direction and say, maybe next time she will learn.
Maybe next time she'll bring what I sent her.
Yes. So the point is this. When our leaders, who are our servants, keep messing our economy and also messing with the future of our kids, future of our old folks, future of the health system, education, and all you can do is call them waheshimiwa. Because somebody has stolen the future of our kids, instead of using the education funds, they divert them for their own good.
Yep.
We clap for them. Why can't we start this policy as the people, whereby if you see a mheshimiwa, instead of running for handouts or being bamboozled by the big cars, we just say, hey, mheshimiwa, so and so, you promised us to do this road. You promised us to give us water.
Yeah.
You promised better healthcare system. Where is it? Why is it that when they get sick, they have to fly out?
Accountability, bottom line.
Yes, and to finish it up, I would say this. Any person being paid by taxpayer should only get services from government services. For example, if you are sick, go to Kenyatta, go to Kajiado Sub-County Hospital, go to Kisumu Hospital, go to government hospital, meaning you've done proper planning for other people who can't fly out, meaning the services are working for the people.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you. Very much appreciated, and you guys are doing a good job.
Thank you so much, Daniel.
Eric in Rongai. Eric. Wewe zima redio kwanza. John in Nyandarua.
Yes, how are you, everybody?
Everybody's fine.
Yes, how are you doing?
Poa kabisa. How are you?
Okay, very fine.
How is Henny? It must be raining.
Raining crazy. It has just stopped.
Very good.
Yes. Now you have a very, very important agenda. I'm happy about it. Discussing about what our nation is like. What I can say is that originally we had done very well. But after some years we started doing badly because we institutionalized some policy, some things which were negative towards development. Corruption is one of them. Corruption is something which has contributed significantly towards, destroying the growth of our economy. Lack of proper plan, implementation of policies. For instance, the implementation, one example is devolution. The way we implemented devolution should not be the way, because if we had sensible planners in the implementation program of our devolution, we should not be spending 70% on recurrent expenditure.
Okay.
At county level. And we have people who can come up with ways on how we can spend the 70% on development and at least 30% on recurrent expenditure. But if you try to bring up such a program, you'll be fought left, right, and center by these politicians.
Oh, yes.
Yeah? In fact, there's somebody who told me that we should now have a ministry of corruption in Kenya because it is something institutionalized now.
That is City's idea as well.
Have a look at education. We are now moving to an era where we shall have a system that has no exams, where the local teacher will be assessing a child and giving the child marks to go forward. if we could corrupt NEC to get exams, what are we going to do at the local level? Definitely, I will give money to my local teacher to see that my child passes. At the end of the day, we are in trouble. So now we have institutionalized corruption even at the classroom. A classroom which had never had corruption. Corruption will be there very soon.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Asante sana. Have a good one.
Thank you. Okay.
Eric in Rongai.
Yes, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I just want to maybe just reiterate on the fact that Mr. Muga mentioned something that is very, very fundamental about the ability to be able to say no to, be able to speak to power and tell them that this is wrong, and say that enough is enough. But now, the problem is that as youth, that we are not able to totally harness this platform and be able to tell leaders that corruption is hated and corruption is no longer going to be entertained, and be able to use this platform to bring ourselves together and make corruption a very painful affair and a very fundamental aspect of being elected to positions. So I think as a country, as youth, we know that we have almost 80% of youth actually are youth in Kenya. So I believe that if you're able to bring ourselves together beyond tribal affiliation or political affiliations, and speak and I'll say that we are not going to elect leaders who are not beyond reproach, leaders who are able to actually be very friendly to youth and avoid corruption, then our country will go very far. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you very much. And finally, let's hear from Mohammed in Mwakijembe.
Yes, sir.
Vipi lakini?
And madam over there.
Yes, sir.
Mazo, happy Jamhuri Day. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Zote.
In advance.
Yes. Asante.
Long time. I really missed contributing to your show. Okay. I want to contribute to this on this direction.
Okay.
I remember late 60s, early 70s, we used to loan Singapore. They used to take loans from us as Kenya after independence. Number one. Number two, there was a blueprint for the betterment of Kilindini Port. They never implemented. The Singaporeans got a copy of it. They did it, and they are very far away. I remember when I was in Nairobi, those mid-70s, I used to see Malaysians coming to KIA, Kabete, Lower Kabete, to come and learn governance from Kenya. Where are we now? So, I'll put it this way in a nutshell. You remember there was a saying Mr. City gave many years back, a couple of years back. He said, however the Makalio are in hurry, they will always remain behind. When you are behind, you are not behind other African countries. You are behind countries which we assisted. Singapore, Malaysia, we are really far behind. Just like the Makalio, we're in a hurry. But you can't overtake them. We'll always remain behind because of the mindset. You know, the mindset of greed, moral values, hakuna, all such issues contributed to us to be where we are today. Singapore took a copy of the blueprint of Kilindini Port, and they're very far because of the port. Malaysians came to learn governance, and they're very far in governance than us. So I think we are Makalio. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mohammed.
Thank you, Mohammed.
Have a lovely weekend. A couple of questions or comments on YouTube.
Well, here it is. My take, we should do away with democracy and embrace monarchy. Okay. No king would wish to leave his kin and a weak economy as compared to democracy. Okay. The problem we have in Kenya is threefold. 1, greed. 2, tribalism. 3, impunity. Our value system is messed up. We are materialistic, and it's reflected by the leaders we voted for. Kenya is and has been stagnating ever since we got independence because those in leadership are hell-bent to amass wealth. Politics in Kenya is a way of hiding thieves and theft and impunity. Wow. Oh, quite a lot. I think the current parliament is the most useless since independence. Young, greedy, clueless, easily corruptible, that just vote mindlessly, gamblers and business owners as political leaders. My goodness.
Hey, God.
I tell you, Parliament needs to assert Parliament needs to assert its role. For now, it's a rubber stamp parliament at the behest of the president. There was that comment that really struck me. Powerful people on paper, but powerless on taking control of their own destiny. Fear of saying no is our weakness.
Begins with us, huh? Tujiangalie. Tuko pabaya kuliko jana. Sauti Sol sang it.
Yep.
Sauti Sol sang it. So as we look into the next 60, we need to do something. And this is the whole consciousness of the people. Let's look back, take stock of what we are doing, take stock of where we are, take stock of what we are able to do. And then let's make sure that we do it.
Absolutely.
Do it directly, do it indirectly by the delegated authority that you give to your leaders. But let's do something. Asanteni sana. City, what's your parting shot?
Don't give up.
Don't give up?
No.
But still, what's yours?
There's a right to do. And that's too the right thing in terms of correctness, and then the right in terms of rights that have been bestowed on you. There's a right to do. It must be done.
We must all do it together. Somebody was actually saying, remember the gentleman at Jamhuri celebrations who came in there with a placard and was saying, and I have an issue to raise. Collectively, when you don't like something, say you don't like it. When you like it, say you like it. If you like it, crown it. Thank you very much for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation today and the entirety of this week. Join us again on Monday. We'll be here bright and early, God willing, from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. I'm going to Kajiado because the Moran's Golden Cup is happening.
They're doing the thing.
This is an open invitation. Please come, watch, see talent, raw, pure talent, football talent, young men and women from across Kajiado towns, villages, coming together in Kajiado town to play in this tournament. Finals will be on Sunday in Kajiado town at the Ildamat Stadium. It's called Ildamat Stadium. It's a stadium in Kajiado town. Have a lovely one, people.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.